More on the job market and trends for college grads. We are joined by Lin Yang, president of the Innovation Ideas Institute. Welcome to the show. Good to have you. So millions and millions of Chinese students graduate. And I guess the question is, where will they go and what do the job prospects look like?
Thank you, Bill, for having me. The job market for Chinese students are really tough and quite competitive. And with the number of graduating students in China growing year by year at a very high rate, the job supply has not been sufficient, in particular, given the slowdown of the economy and also the restructuring of the economy in China. And please bear in mind, there are over 3 million Chinese students overseas, and 80% of them are looking for jobs back in China as well. So I have been involved in some recruiting events by Chinese companies overseas, and I actually see there are many opportunities in those companies. However, oftentimes they cannot find the right talent. So I think there are mismatching here, a mismatch between the skills the students are having and the skills that market is requiring. And there is also a mismatch between the expectation of the students and also the reality of the job market.
So if you and I were graduating tomorrow, what sectors would we be looking at?
Well, right now, back in a few years ago, I think a lot of students, maybe you and I can go to foreign enterprises that, like the accounting firms, investment bank. Foreign enterprises are the top choices for graduate students. However, I think over the past few years, things are changing. A lot of them are going to state-owned enterprises, are more stable and more better career path for a lot of students graduating. And now, given that many Chinese private companies are growing more, much bigger, and especially even going overseas, there are many students are choosing the private companies, especially those star Chinese private enterprises. And I think finance, marketing, internet are the top choices for students.
Would you also include startups in them? I've heard from a lot of folks that, they're young, they're excited, they want to go find the next Facebook or Alibaba. Is that a fair statement?
Well, it's true, inspired by so many start companies coming out of China in the last few years, and many young people are aspiring entrepreneurs. And however, I think young people, despite there are some successful enterprises coming up from the younger generation, I do think if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you need to have some industry know-how, you need to have some professional experiences before you can really start a very successful enterprise. And so I do advise the students can start with working for some big enterprises before they really start their own venture.
So what happens? So you've painted the picture. There's a lot of graduates looking for jobs. There's not enough jobs for them. So I see a problem here, though, because if they can't find a job, they're going to get discouraged. Once they get discouraged, the skill sets then sort of decline. And it's this awful sort of cycle. And we've seen that in other countries as well. But what's the solution for all this?
Well, the government has been doing a lot of right things. For example, they are encouraging students to go to second or third tier cities to find career opportunities. And they are encouraging young people to practice entrepreneurship, innovation. However, the problem is how you can achieve that. In the last few years, China has been building the mega cities like Beijing or Shanghai, and all the talents are rushing into cities like Beijing or Shanghai because those cities can provide everything. And Beijing or Shanghai are building themselves into the center of finance, center of economy, center of history, center of culture, and they have everything. They provide everything for students to pursue their life and their career. So I think the government should actually really to build up more second and third tier cities and into their own clusters. For example, to form some clusters and industries in their second tier cities to provide those opportunities for the students, rather than just providing some subsidies or just talent policies to promote the students to go work in second-tier cities. And I think another policy the government has been promoting is to encourage younger generation to practice entrepreneurship. I do think it's a right thing to do. As somebody who has been promoting innovation between U.S. and China, I feel thrilled to see that the top leadership in China has been promoting mass entrepreneurship and mass innovation among the younger generation.
It is always good.
However,
I'm sorry, but it is always good to follow your dream. Lin Yang, thank you very much for joining us. I'm sorry that we are out of time.